We're going to use 3 different kinds of meat glue throughout the course of these demonstrations. Activa TI, which is a pure form, Activa RM, which is sort of the workhorse, and GS, which is generally used in slurry form. So you have to hydrate it in some water, and then we're going to paint it onto things. So it's got some interesting properties. Why don't you talk about them?
Yeah, certainly. Well, first and foremost, we have to get the enzyme, in most cases, into solution.
Correct.
As you're talking about the slurry. We certainly have RM, which is applied directly, and we'll show an application of that. But as you can see sort of here, what we're doing here is actually adding the enzyme without heat, without anything, just sheer force.
Yeah, in water. In fact, the water can't be too hot because that begins to create activity.
Yeah. In this case, ambient room temperature, protein. It's a protein. We have the enzyme is a protein. It's a bit of a dispersant, a sugar that's dispersed into it. And as you can see, it picks up air as it blends in the blender. So we have to get the air out.
We have to get the air out. And this is a technique we use a lot to get the air out of any various solutions.
This is a vacuum chamber, essentially. So what it does is just pulls. It's a sealed unit that pulls or drops the pressure on the inside, allowing, as you can see here, the solution, the Activa solution or the transcontaminated solution, to actually bubble, literally boil, because there's just very little pressure there. You do this a few times to pull the air out of the solution.
Just wax it on the downside, you know.
Yes. Ultimately, once it breaks that vacuum, the environmental pressure of the atmosphere will come back down onto it. So we're just pulling the air out of it, as you can see here,
a couple of times. Yeah,
now, pulling the air out of it is extremely important from a technique perspective.
Yeah, because we learned the hard way that if you didn't pull the air out, all that air that was in the slurry when we started, that you'd get all these little sort of micro pockets between your bond or in your bond, and so the bond was much weaker, and it would often just peel apart.
So ultimately, you want to have as little air in there, little pockets in there, to create the optimum bonding surface. Your bonding surface is the surfaces.
Yeah.
If you don't have any glue there, which is basically air, then you won't create a bond.
Right. The more that's air that's between those two things, sort of the worse off we are. So that's how we make a slurry.